From as far east as Tennessee to the Pacific coast and the Northwest is a diagonal slash of roadways that are all designated part of the Lewis and Clark Trail. It's an iconic image of men with hats, their gaze fixed on the horizon ahead. I wanted to see where that finger pointed, so off I went. So here's the Missouri downstream. More specifically between South Dakota and Nebraska. Yes, the Great Missouri holds a big place in American history, all thanks to two white guys with a lust for discovery, William Clark and Meriwether Lewis. Although some prefer to call it the Lewis and Clark Expedition, I prefer the more modern version, Bill and Mary's Excellent Adventure. Bodacious. In 1804, Bill and Mary grabbed their boards to cruise the channel looking for some West Coast surf. I, however, was a little less adventurous. My last video took me from St. Louis to a few miles east of the Missouri border. This trip would take me through 5 states, stopping at a few campsites along the way. Not as daunting as the L&C route, but it still had its moments. Next stop, Kansas City, where the gateway to the west is paved in concrete and the view to the Missouri is hidden behind cement and steel. Along with catching a few blue notes, Kansas City Live had one other attraction I was eager to see. The downtown music plaza was also famous for its architectural achievements. Completely covering the music fans below is a canopy made of ETFE, the first of its kind in North America. While this transparent plastic means little to the average Joe, to users of flexible solar panels like myself, it is proof that the new generation of polymers is made to last. Because if it survives KC, it'll survive me. With trailer and solar panels in tow, I crossed the line to Kansas State. Seeing that my stay in Kansas was featured in another video, I'll just mention that I stayed at the Leavenworth State Lake, a free campsite about 20 miles west of the city. But I was not through with Missouri yet as I crossed the state line one more time near Atchison, Kansas. This took me over the Missouri River and to the Lewis and Clark State Park. Well, on July 4th, 1804, the Lewis and Clark expedition camped here at this Oxbow Lake. The Missouri is just over the ridge. This oxbow was fed into it originally, but has long been cut off. Apparently, they said they saw a lot of goslings, so they called it Gosling Lake. And one of the members of the expedition got a snake bite, which they called the Joe Field Snake Prairie, after the snake. But I'm headed up the Missouri. Headed north. After passing through St. Joseph, I eventually passed into Iowa and a cozy little pond near Moorhead. Well, I had been really lucky with weather, but my luck's run out. It's not supposed to be any better for the next few days. But that's what they invented museums for, isn't it? In Midwest America, there is no shortage of museums, so I visited the National Music Museum in Vermilion, South Dakota. As the organ bid farewell, my musical tour came to an end. Another great perk about rainy days in little towns is it's a great excuse to get your laundry done and study your road maps. Along with having all the conveniences of a small town, Vermilion, South Dakota is also friendly to trailers and offers free overnight camping in their city park, including water and a restroom. But I wanted to camp right along the Missouri, so I went to search for a spot. If you follow Highway 19 south of Vermilion, you cross the river to Nebraska. This is the viewpoint from Mulberry Bend Outlook. Just a little farther south takes you to a hidden gravel road that winds around underneath the bridge. This is the Mulberry Bend Wildlife Management Area with a restroom, boat launch, and free camping. I think of all the places that I've camped on the Missouri, this is the most peaceful. And the thing is, it's not that far from civilization. Vermilion's just across that bridge. So I can get supplies there. I can come over here and listen to the birds, watch the flow of the river. I mean, look how vast it is here. It's just amazing. But it's peaceful, and that's the neat thing about it. You know, some people like campsites with hookups and pads and all that, but I'm happy with just a nice place to put my trailer and a beautiful view like this. Seeing some fishermen boating down the Missouri reminded me of the challenges of the past. By today's standards, it's totally unfathomable what Lewis and Clark had to go through on a daily basis. I mean, look at the current of that river. Look how swift it is. I mean, that's about a light jog. So they would have to be rowing up the river just to keep on that same spot. But to get anywhere, they'd have to go faster. And that means rowing all day, every day. And that's why their oars wore out. And some days they'd only get a mile upriver. It's really hard to imagine. I mean, yeah, I'm traveling about with a trailer. I can take breaks. I can go to gas stations. I can get groceries. They had to live and struggle on a daily basis with nothing around, nobody to really help them. It's just astounding that they got anywhere. For a while it looked like my old friend bad weather was to take over again, but this time it gave me a break and opened up the horizon to a stunning floor show at sunset. While sunset was a flash of color, dawn was 50 shades of gray. Flat and dreary looking at a distance, up close revealed a busy little world. Well, if you are thinking of following the Lewis and Clark expedition up and down the Missouri, the good thing is there's lots of places to stop and find out historic notes, and there's also really good camping. It's not free, of course, but it is available, and that's good. Or if you're really cheap like me, you find the free camping like I did here. It's free of price, but it's not free of bugs. It's the one thing. Unless you go in the winter. There's no doubt that disease-carrying insects like mosquitoes certainly have plagued the Lewis and Clark campsites like this one at Elk Point. Throughout their travels in parts unknown, success or failure was almost entirely dependent on the kindness and knowledge of those who have thrived these lands for centuries, the indigenous tribes of the Missouri River. While tracing the modern route, you will find plaques to commemorate the expedition's encounters with the Osage, the Sioux, and the Mandan. However, one memorial near Chamberlain sits high in the hills with a clear view of the Missouri. Although the lookout mentions the Lewis and Clark Bicentennial, the prime honor is saved for the First Nations people in a moving tribute called Dignity of Earth and Sky. Standing at the crossroads, Dignity echoes the interaction of earth, sky, and people. She brings to light the beauty and promise of indigenous peoples and cultures that still thrive on this land. Artist Dale Lamphier's vision was a statue to stand as an enduring symbol that all here are sacred and in a sacred place. He chose a woman wrapped in a quilt of stars to show respect, promise, and pride. I'd like to end this tale with that wonderful vision and include the artwork of nature beaming from the sky and gleaming on the still tranquil waters of the Missouri River. I hope you enjoyed this video and continue to follow as I travel across this amazing land.